evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. and serves as the city's policymaking and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rule of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. By city ordinance, all remarks must be addressed to the City Council as a body and not to any City Council member, including the mayor. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City Government.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, July 10. Welcome. Thanks for being here. AC's working and it's going to keep working, so this is a good place to be tonight. Appreciate your attendance. Clerk, let's get started by reading the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Council members Sale.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Brecky.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Next, I'm going to invite Dr. Ron Tottingham, to give our invocation this evening. And before I do that, I was just chatting with him for a little bit and got his quick Reader's Digest background. A behavioral health doctor, pastor, combat Marine, seminary professor, currently manages 40-plus chaplains that he oversees, just back on a motorcycle bender from Winnipeg. So this is quite a guy right here. So honored to have him with us, Dr. Ron Tottingham. So if you rise with me, he will give the invocation and then stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Our Father, tonight, thank you for your blessings. Thank you for the City Council. Thank you for all the things that they do. And I pray, Father, that whatever, wherever, and whatever our position is in this city, that we'd realize the importance of the City Council and that we would keep them, I personally will keep them in prayer, that you might help them in everything they do, that they might do things that you would be happy with in all things. Bless them tonight, bless this City Council, bless this city in a very special way. It's a great city, and these are the people that help keep it that way. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda and approval of the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second. Kiley.
Move to approve by Councilor Erickson, seconded by Kiley. Any discussion on that? Okay. If not, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzert.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. We'll now move on to the regular agenda and approval of that.
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
Motion approved by Erickson, seconded by Kylie. Discussion on that? If not, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has also passed 8-0. We will now move to the public input portion of our evening. So I would ask anyone who wishes to address the council, you can come forward. Again, there's a 5-minute time limit. I ask that you address the entirety of the body and not individual members, and state your name for records.
Good evening. My name's Heather Pastor.
Good evening, Heather. How are you?
Well, it's nice out. Can't complain too much. I want to read something. The reason I bring this stuff in is because this is my way of proving to you guys that the stuff that me and my fiance speak about when we come here is not something that I randomly made up. So you guys know that I'm not making stories up. Actually, a friend of mine had got printouts of these for me at the library. I'm going to read what I can. This is about when my fiance told you guys about our neighbor, Sabrina White. Says, it's a really hard thing to even hear that anybody could harm another person, a human being. That's what I said. Pastor and her boyfriend, James Reed, thankful that others joins together to remember White. You don't have to know somebody that long to be touched by them. You don't have to know someone your whole life to be touched, to know that somebody, when there could have been me or anybody else, speaks about the death of the woman that my man talked about on Garfield and the other places. I want to add by saying this, there has been different things that's been labeled towards me and him. I want to add by saying this. Me and my fiance, we're not hoodlums, we're not gangsters, we're not prostitutes, I'm not a call girl, and that man is my fiance. We are decent people, and I'm still fighting this situation with the whole discrimination because I'm having an issue with all these places like the Advocacy Service, Disability Rights, East Ribble Legal Service, all these places that I get told to go through. They won't help me. But however, today I do got some good news. I had to go have a meeting today at Sanford with a person who was actually an advocate for people like me. What was that lady's name? Do you remember? Well, anyway, she's an advocate, and she and my fiance all sat down, and now I have an agreement that anytime I have any appointments, that when I have my appointments, to avoid any miscommunications or anything being blown out of proportion, that this woman and my fiance will be present, so that there's no misinterpretations. Yeah. I just want people to know that me and my fiance are decent people, and I'm working on this discrimination thing because it's a fight for me, because it's the way I was treated, and he's working, and I'm proud of him because he has Monday and Tuesdays off, thanks God. But I just want people to know that every situation that has been blown out of proportion, where people had labeled me and attacked me, I want people to know that I'm not this type of person that people trying to paint me out to be. And my mother had brought me up to be a respectful person. I know I'm not perfect, nobody is, but that's what I want to say, and God bless everybody.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello, Mayor. I'm James Reed. I was here last week and I said the road about the road on the Hy-Vee on 10th. Well, whatever he did, whoever did it, they fixed it pretty good. So I'm grateful for that. And I know that you guys got pretty busy, and if somebody has a request on something, you guys usually try to take care of it as you can. I'm not going to be able to stay here long, so I'm just hanging in there the best I can, and being a productive citizen, and I know if I see something wrong, I do say something, and I know the officers, and when they do call them, they will be there. I watch Okay, I watch them, you know, and yes, they're right there if you need them. And if there's something that looks suspicious and they see it, they're there. Okay, and so, you know, I'm just gonna say that. Okay, you guys have a good evening. God bless y'all.
Thanks, James. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name's Catherine Riffle. I have a paper here I want to have you put up if somebody could do it for me.
Good.
I'm going to talk fast. If you can't keep up, I suggest rewind. My name again is Catherine Riffle. I have a personal problem here. I put 4 sets of tires on my car. My car's been on the road for a year now this week. It has been parked in the garage for 9 years.
Put your mics down a little bit. There you go.
And it's been, I bought it, had it on the road for 2 weeks, put it in the garage for 9 years, drove somebody else's car for 2.5 years, put 110,000 miles on it, helping the homeless downtown. I'm an advocate for the displaced and the homeless and those with situations that are quite unbearable downtown. I have spoke for years. I have opened up organizations, changed infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. I am finishing my master's in international business management. I've been suffering from many strokes. I've had some serious ones again last night. My tires again today went down. I hit more potholes. This is a new tire I just put on my car, and again it's down. So now I had to walk here. I'm not appreciative of the streets being in such poor condition. Railroad tracks, streets, potholes, middle of the streets, etc. Somebody's either got to change the products you're using or get better shoddy material, get it out of the way and put some decent materials into the ground and have the people do it right and pack it down before you take on and finish it up. That's that part. The other part, again, is this paper here. I'm having a meeting at the library on July the 19th from 1 to 4. If you are not going to be helping, do not show up. If you're going to be an agitation to the situation, I will not let you in. You do have my open invitation to come. I hope you will come, but I hope it will be for the benefit of the homeless downtown and those that are displaced. Let's see if there's anything else I forgot. It was my birthday. I had a miserable birthday July 2nd because of the potholes and everything else in the street causing trouble with my car, so I couldn't drive my car. I am not a happy camper. I am walking home today. I walked downtown today. I should not even be on my feet. I've been having mini strokes since I was 9, 10 years old. Doctors didn't know about it until just recently. And within the last couple of years, I'll say, recently, within the last 2 years, I've been dealing with it. And it wasn't pretty good last night. I'm very nervous today. I am not in a good mood. And I don't like the way people are being treated downtown. If one more person dies on our streets, like I said before, I will. And I found a way to hold each and every one in our city council and commissioners' seats responsible for the deaths of anyone on the streets pertaining to the weather and their situations. You know they're ill down there. You know they need medicine. You are not giving it to them. They're not getting the care they need. They do not even have an emergency shelter set up downtown that they can get in and out of the heat. You have been posted no trespassing signs all over the place. Why don't you take some of the area there at the work building there and the food stamp building, take corner of that and put up a couple $139 tents and let them have a place to get in and out of it. That's private property. Put them on the corner. You're not using it for parking. Anything else I missed? Don't try and keep pushing the people out around the city because they need the help. They need the ambulances. They need to be taken care of. Other than that, I thank you for the time. I hope you take me serious. I am not going to give up. I am here for the people. I will stay until an emergency center is opened up. Again, I also found out about the Bishop Dudley House, that when you come in there and you don't get cleaned up, you're not allowed in. I know it's a step up the ladder, but the people need help. If they're having a problem keeping clean, then find a way to work with them. If I can do it in my house and on the streets, why can't you all do it? Why can't you find a way to get these people off our streets? You don't like what they look like down there. They get snubbed and pushed away and everything. Well, then help them. If they can't do it by themselves, no, I can't be the only one to help them. I can do everything else but get them their meds. It's up to y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Stephen Ciano. Homeless, blacklisted, targeted, disabled veteran since 1978. And I have had apparent doubters. People challenge this position. Although it is known to the city attorney dealing with disability and discrimination, and she's covering it up. And I've also tried to make a report to the police, and it's apparently being covered up there. So today I bring a letter in from my counselor, which can speak for itself, saying I am indeed credible with my reports. That sums it up, pretty much. I have had a bona fide, legitimate confirmation of my PTSD since '78, declared in 2003, covered up with a false declaration. I was suddenly afflicted with delusional disorder, and which covered up saying that the false claim that I was not disabled through all those years of suffering of myself and my loved ones was just in my head. It's not in my head. And what people have done to me consequently in pretending that I'm delusional or paranoid in order to discredit my reports are put to rest with this. Take a look. And please get your people on it. Report this to state's attorney or whoever is appropriate. In 2004, I tried to appeal with the VA, and my appeal on my appearance was denied, so I quit the VA. In Southeastern Behavioral Healthcare, Susan Kavanaugh, a psychiatrist there, said for no particular reason she decided to call me delusional. Well, apparently this was in conspiracy with the VA, and I've recently reported this to Washington as well, the Veteran Affairs committees in Washington, as well as the directors and acting director of the hospital at the local VA. So they're in on this too. But there's crimes being committed. I'm trying to get prosecuted for myself and other veterans. Apparently $300,000 has reportedly been diverted in my name to a so-called fiduciary account based on my being declared incompetent due to delusional disorder upon my counselor, this counselor here, sending proof of the fact that I was not delusional to the VA. So rather than accept this reality, they declared me incompetent as well as delusional and sent money on the order of $300,000 to a Sandy Schoenbeck in First Premier Bank. I wrote the president and CEO of that institution and got no response. I let them know this was a threat to my life because I received no benefit for years while this was going on until another cover-up. And this is all in paperwork which is available to you if you want to look into it. And if a city attorney wants to prosecute, perhaps with the state's attorney and whoever else. Like I said before, you also, if you do nothing, I feel are culpable, as Ms. Riffle just alluded to as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Anyone else? Welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is Lanny Strickers, and I have a copy of what I'm going to read to you for each of you. I asked that the city change the walk lights to automatic throughout the city when the traffic light turns green. It is disrespectful for the city to require that pedestrians wait through an entire change of lights to be able to cross the street. When I was a homeowner, it was required that the public sidewalk in front of the property be in good repair, and if not, that it be replaced. With the letting slide of the public infrastructure for which the city is responsible has led to a lot of our neighborhoods not looking as they used to when people cared. I asked that the city require property owners to properly keep this public sidewalk on their property free from grass clippings, dirt, and mud when they mow. I've asked for this in the past. This is number 4.
I've asked for this in the past, that the goose poop on the bike path be cleaned up on a daily basis. When I asked the last time a couple of years ago, good job was done for quite some time, but now it is back to business as usual, having to walk or ride the bike around it, if possible. I have heard the bike path and the River Greenway referred to as the gem of our city, but I think when it is full of goose feces, which is unacceptable from our dogs, it becomes a disgrace. Finally, I would like to ask that it be mandatory that people remove snow in the winter using a shovel, a snow blower, or one of those tractors with a rotating broom on the front. The only exception would be if the sidewalk is wide enough to use the blade on the front of a pickup. With the use of a blade, grass and dirt is pulled out on the sidewalk and all the snow is not removed. Then it turns to ice or salt and chemicals are applied, which is a lot of the reason that the sidewalks are so crumbled. I'm pretty sure that the ordinance requiring snow removal from sidewalks doesn't say all but the last half inch or inch of snow has to be removed. Any questions?
Thank you, Lanny.
I've got a copy of it for each of you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome.
This place is still cool. Name's James Johnson, right here in Sioux Falls. Last week I was here because I'm having issues with a garbage container outside my business. Well, not my business, I just work there and manage it. But I was fined $100 because I didn't get it put back into a bin or into the container area in a timely manner. So in the meantime, I've been going around the city, looking at city property, county property, finding their dumpsters. Same situation I was in. They're not being contained either. So when I called the zoning department to say, hey, these places need their garbage containers put away, I get, oh, we'll look into it. So I sent them pictures that I had brought last week, and they did take care of the one down at the fleet department finally, but still not within the timely manner that I had to do it in. Now there's still one out at the arena, which she did admit that, yes, we do need to get that one taken care of. And when I asked her for a timeline on when this was going to be completed, she said she couldn't give me one. And when I asked her, well, I had to have a timeline. You guys gave me 2-3 weeks, whatever it was, to get this taken care of. And if not, I was going to be fined $100. So I asked her again, when is this going to be completed? She goes, well, I can't give you one because we need to go out and get bids. He says, I don't care. I had to have a timeline. You don't see the hypocrisy in this? She goes, well, no, because we're the city, we need to do it this way. He says, no, it doesn't work that way. I have to follow these laws. You have to follow these laws. And she still doesn't understand that she's wrong. And to me, it wasn't about the $100. It's just about the principle of the thing. I had to follow the city's laws, but the city doesn't have to follow the city's laws. Before, I didn't want my $100 back. Now I kind of want my $100 back. Again, it's just the principle of the thing. And then there's the ones behind the county building too as well. She said that they are construction dumpsters. I think you guys all know what a construction dumpster looks like. There's one right down the street here. It's about 20 feet long, real wide, no lid. The ones down behind the county building look just like a regular dumpster. So the other day, Sunday morning, I drove down there and I just happened to take a picture of it. I took a picture of inside thinking I'm going to find wood, plaster, wiring, metal, whatever it is. Let's see, it was Little Debbie shortcake, water bottles, office garbage, no construction debris, nothing. So when I called her on that, she goes, no, it is a construction dumpster. We don't have to do anything with it. I said, no, I don't think you know what a construction dumpster is. This is a garbage can. So she said that we don't have to remove that one either. Again, it's all in the hypocrisy. It's all in the principle. So I'm just asking you guys, give me my $100 back, and I'll drop this. So and I even gave her the out. I said, hey, if you just tell me you're wrong, I'll never bring this up again. She goes, well, I'm not wrong. I go, well, you kind of are. No, she says, I'm not wrong. So here I am again. another Tuesday night. Pretty cool building though still. I just hope it gets fixed by next week. Otherwise, again, I'll be back again next Tuesday. Hopefully you guys are still smiling. Well, a couple of you are. But that's all I have. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, once again, Janelle Kane, 1808 South Lincoln. I am here on the Lifescape parking lot issue. I am one of 3 homeowners on the Lincoln side of that street. My neighbor Mary Ann is here with me again. She opted not to speak, so you get to hear from me again. I do have quite an issue, if I could get someone. I do have quite an issue with this feasibility study that they're not going to get back for 4 to 5 months. And the fact that they don't know if they're going to move or upgrade, and they sold all those houses, which have to be moved by the 15th of August. And one of them's been up on stilts for 3 weeks. That's all that's been done. The rest are still there. Nothing seems to be really moving at any kind of speed. Now, we did get in the mail, and tomorrow there is a Lifescape meeting, and we will find out more, I'm sure, a lot more. But in that letter that they sent out how the berm will be and everything, and I'm one of those that's going to be able to see over the berm because I'm at the highest spot once I cut down all my sucker trees that are 2 years old. So if you put this up, and this reflects in their pictures that they've shown you is the mature landscaping, at what, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years it takes for it to mature. So while it's small, we're still going to be hearing things and seeing things. Now, on the feasibility study, we don't know what they're going to do. It's like taking those little thistles in your yard that poke you when you pull them, and just taking a whole sack of those and just throwing them into the air and not knowing where they're going to land, because we have no idea what they're going to do. Except we do know that it's a 67-year-old building, and we do know if they get that parking lot and that rezoned, we know that that makes the sale price on that building go up trifold at least. That's going to be the big thing for them to make the value of their property worth much more to sell, and they can build a new facility. Now, last week, I wanted to say that if we were anywhere else in the nation, people would be required to build up instead of out, because that's the way it is, but we're here in the Midwest. Now, it's been an issue that they didn't even go to the zoning commission until the houses were sold and the trees are now all cut down. That's how the boulevard looks, and all those homes are without the trees in front. In the June 22nd article of the Argus Leader, talking about the big home in the McKinnon Park area, Hoff, who owns Telcamp Transportation out of Brookings, who's been in business for 3 decades, initially Hoff said he could move the home 6 to 8 feet to the south, then said it would be very possible. But after the Sioux Falls Board of Historic Preservation rejected those plans to reduce the home's height, the plan had to be scraped. The biggest problem in that plan was numerous trees would need to be chopped down and or trimmed, and the city of Sioux Falls is reluctant in trimming and removing trees. I didn't see anybody out there stopping Lifescape from cutting down all these big mature trees that have been there for decades. I decided to do a little looking around on the 4th of July. So I drove into their parking lot that they're going to lose. And guess what I saw right over the knoll? I saw the VA parking lot. That's what it looks like, okay? So why can't we negotiate a deal to join those 2 parking lots and give them more parking and leave those residential homes along Elmwood Avenue? What's going to happen there? Well, they don't want to take down trees. These are the 2 trees on that entire lot. A majority of the trees are on the east side, and it wasn't a problem to put in the Aqua Center, which Western Avenue cannot handle all the traffic from. And they were fine with putting that in Spellerberg Park. Why can't we negotiate with the VA and make that a bigger parking lot and they can park there? If that's not going to be feasible, then I go back to my plan that I discussed last week and wait until the feasibility study comes back. Wait until they know what the heck they're doing, because they have no idea. And
Thank you, Janelle.
okay.
Is there anyone else for public input? Hey, David.
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and you haven't seen me for a while because I was out on travel, but I'm back. And I'm here to talk about the oath of office, something that we should all value highly. But a little bit about me personally first. I really want to believe in people. I mean, because that's what the world's all about. People. We need to be good to each other. And I really want to believe in our government. And that's why we're all here, because we believe in people and government. But on the other hand, you know, I really do need to be realistic, and sometimes there's some conflict with these different goals. But I watched a few of you take your oath of office recently. It looked like a really nice little ceremony. It was right here, right over there, and I looked at the oath of office that you took and was really happy with this one little sentence here. And it reads like, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Wonderful, just wonderful. Well, at least that's what I thought at the inauguration ceremony. And then, you know, as the week went by, I kind of remembered this nasty little piece of work on our city's set of laws. City Law 117, I saw this in a council meeting some time ago, and I was dumbfounded when I read that sentence there. Any permit may be suspended by the police for other good cause. Who the heck writes this kind of garbage? It is unconstitutionally broad. You just can't write that kind of stuff and have it be legally valid. And there's no hearing. That violates due process, and blatantly. And then another problem is that this law is directed against small merchants and lousy door-to-door salesmen. Nobody likes them. And not against people with established businesses. And that violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Now, half of you on the council should be aware of this law because I talked about it before. And here's this solemn oath to uphold the Constitution sitting right next door to City Law 117, which is blatantly unconstitutional. And I'm going, there's a problem here. Really, there's a problem. And, you know, I read the Constitution and I look at trials, and I was here on June 6th last year talking about a problem I had where the city of Sioux Falls condoned perjury by police. But, you know, it's obviously not a constitutional thing. You're supposed to have fair trials, and you can't have fair trials if the government condones perjury. And there's the date there in the reference, and you're welcome to review that presentation. And the more I look around, the more I see rather obvious problems with the lack of constitutionality in our laws and our processes. And I've talked about it time and time again. In December, I talked about a Georgia girl and local doctor and some really nasty state laws. Hope you never give your baby a bath because that's illegal in South Dakota. No jive. Any activity regarding nudity and minors is sexual exploitation of that minor. How the heck do people put up with this stuff? Anyway, we could go on, but suffice to say that there are problems with constitutionality that nobody seems to care about, and yet there's this solemn oath to protect constitutionality, and I'm going, God, guys, we got to fix this. Really, we just need to fix it. Anyway, my recommendation is to reform our government at city, state, and national levels. I recommend that you honor your oath of office, solemnly swear, by golly, make it work. And you need to protect your freedoms so that you can protect our freedoms. Really, an important point. And of course, try to enjoy life. I was out in the Badlands a couple of weeks ago with my daughter, and I took this photograph. So try to enjoy life and nature and get to work and fix these nasty unconstitutional laws. And with that, I bid you a good evening.
Thanks, David. Anyone else? If not, next item, please.
Item 6, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations, highways and streets, $900,000, parks, $800,000.
Welcome, Erica.
Good evening, Council. Erica Beck, Mayor's Office. A couple of weeks ago, actually last week, I apologize, at the Fiscal Committee, I presented a proposal from the administration for use of the 2017 surplus sales and use tax funds. Tonight is first reading for that proposal. I'll go through the presentation that I made at Fiscal Committee and then answer any questions that you might have. As stated in the first reading, this is for highways and streets as well as parks. We have 4 different projects specifically that we're asking for your support for funding. $800,000 we would like to obligate and use for the Discovery District, the USD Discovery District. This was actually made in a presentation to you several weeks ago in which we agreed to support the USD Discovery District with a total of $1.5 million. We are proposing that $800,000 of that 1.5 come from the surplus funds. The additional highways and streets project that we have listed here in front of you is for Minnesota Avenue, and that's $100,000 for Minnesota Avenue between 7th and 10th Streets, and that would include asphalt overlay along with ADA ramp repairs. The next section, 2 specific projects are in the parks arena. $500,000 would be allocated toward equipment for the EAB, Emerald Ash Borer response, as well as $300,000 specifically would be allocated toward Falls Park and improvements to Falls Park, including viewing platforms, accessible pathways, and code-compliant railing. I do have a couple of images here just to better describe the projects that I've just referred to. The one in front of you right now is for the Discovery District, and these would be the public infrastructure projects that $800,000 being allocated in the surplus funds would be utilized for. The reason that we split up the $1.5 million, a portion of it being funded this year as well as a portion next year, is because that project will be split into 2 different projects, and we didn't want to expend all of the funds this year if we didn't need to. This next slide is for Minnesota Avenue. This better depicts the project between 7th Street and 10th Street. Again, this is asphalt overlay for that portion of Minnesota Avenue along with ADA curb ramp upgrades. The next, of which you've heard a lot about, is the equipment that is needed to help with the Emerald Ash Borer response. And then the last, again, is imagery that you've seen presented before at an informational meeting specific to Falls Park and the types of improvements that our team feels are strongly needed in that area to better prepare us for next spring and the rise of the water and, of course, the foam event that typically occurs there. So this project in particular requires us to act relatively quickly if possible so that we can put together further design and get this bid out in order to try to do improvements yet this winter and next spring. Any questions?
Thank you, Erica. Questions for Erica on this? Councilor Staley.
Erica, this is more of a comment. Yep. I did have a conversation with our Parks Director, Don Kearney, within the last 2 weeks. And I just wanted to state publicly so the public has a clear understanding about this forestry issue. And you're talking about the capital part of it, but first of all, we're talking about hiring another forestry supervisor and 2 to 3 more, I'm thinking, full-time employees. So just for the public record, Project Trim has been suspended this year. There will be no fines, no trimming, nothing coming down on the citizens. I did have a conversation with Director Kearney, and I will continue to say this, that I think we need to find a better way to trim our boulevard trees. And even John Ball, who came down and gave us a presentation from SDSU, said in Brookings, he's the expert, they take care of their own trees. That city of Brookings maintains their trees, takes great pride in their trees. The city of Aberdeen, same thing. City of Fargo, the same thing. Kansas City, Missouri, same thing. So I think we can do it better here, using our resources to help our citizens and beautify that boulevard. And now more than ever, we're going to have an effort to take care of the trees that are going to be removed. So I just wanted people to understand that do not fear Project Trim coming down on your head this year, because it is gone. Thank you.
Other questions for Erica while we have her? Okay, thank you, Erica.
Move to set the first reading to Tuesday, July 17th.
Second, Kylie.
Motion by Erickson to set a second reading for July 17th at 7 p.m., seconded by Councilor Kiley. Any further discussion on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could, please.
Jim's
got a couple of pictures for me. Friday night, we went down to Falls Park to watch the balloons take off, and the weather was horrible, and we had a chance to walk through Falls Park, and the family and I had a great time walking through and getting to enjoy the park. But I knew this was coming up, and one of the things that really concerned me is this photograph that I was unfortunately able to take. I'm not a great photographer, but I was worried about this young lady falling in and crawling. But here's the viewing platform that she was able to use that we're talking about building. And she went past the railing and was crawling. And I took a bunch of pictures. There were a lot of people crawling and doing some really unsafe things while we were there. But my point is this, and I've been trying to make it over and over again, is that we're going to invest $300,000 before we take a look of a full safety audit of what we're doing at Falls Park. Why would we move ahead with safety improvements before we have a chance to take a look at the entire park? The other thing, full disclosure, I wasn't watching my children as close as I should have Friday night. Jim, if you put the next picture up for me. And here's my daughters crawling through one of the old mill part where the grinding and things actually happened. And if you look, there's a gate that's supposed to keep kids and people out of the park area, and it's chained really well. It just happens to be missing one of the bars that go through the process. Again, we'll talk about it more on second reading, but my point is, until we have a full plan of what we're doing, we shouldn't be spending the taxpayers' money to move forward on safety things that take us partway through the process. And I'll make that point this week. Take a chance, if you get a chance this week, to walk through the park yourself. I have more pictures of people crawling in some areas. We can't keep everybody safe. I don't claim that we do that. I don't claim to be a safety expert of what we're doing. That's why I'm saying we need to move ahead with bringing the safety experts in. We've brought the risk management people in. We brought the lawyers in to take a look at what we're doing. But we need to take a full look before we put any more amenities into the park. I'm excited about the process. I think what we're proposing as part of this ordinance is an awesome idea. I think it'll be a great improvement to our park. I don't think there's any doubt of that. But until, we have to do things in the right order. We can't continue to put the cart in front of the horse. The other thing is this wasn't in the CIP. It didn't, there's lots of projects that we put this in front of. And is this the top priority of what we were trying to do when we held this money back from paying off the Lewis and Clark bonds? And having that full discussion. We started that discussion last week with the Finance Committee, but maybe it needs to come from the parks budget. Maybe, it just feels like we're running around helter-skelter trying to get the money spent before the time. And of the 4 items, this is the one that really stands out to me that we need to do the safety study before we do more projects to move ahead and maybe fix a problem, maybe not fix the problem. So that's where I'm at, and I'm going to spend the next week spending more time looking at all of these appropriations before we get there next week. So,
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Staley.
Well, and I know that this foam issue was a topic in our mayoral debates, and everybody was on board with saying we need to address this. And I say thank you to the mayor for moving forward with it, with an idea. I agree with Councilor Starr, however, that I would like to see a safety study done where we actually have a piece of paper with some kind of a report on it. Saying that we're getting verbal reports for the last 10 years, you know, that just doesn't cut it for me. And so I'd like to bring someone in and have them look it over, an independent third party. And let me say this, the foam area, dangerous area, especially in the spring, if we didn't get this thing done right away, we can still put up a temporary fencing of some kind during that time. We could put some orange fencing up, we can have a sign, we could do something. And I'm not saying we just ignore that, but is this the right order that we want to do it in? We'll find that out next week on the second reading. But anyway, thank you for moving on that, because that, I do appreciate it.
Other discussion, councilors? If not, there's a motion on the table that I would ask for a vote on, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Next item, please.
First reading, and item 7 is the first reading, an ordinance approving the annual rate increase pursuant to the franchise agreement for ground ambulance service for the City of Sioux Falls with Paramedics Logistics South Dakota, LLC.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Jill Franken, Public Health Director. The agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Paramedics Plus requires a variety of things. It requires ambulance response time performance, equipment and supply minimums, appropriate staffing credentials, clinical performance with approved medical standards and protocols, quality improvement, dispatch performance standards, and customer and community satisfaction measurement. The city's agreement with Paramedics Plus also stipulates ambulance service will be provided without subsidy, and that the primary means of compensation will be through a fee-for-service reimbursement of patient charges. Each year, those charges are adjusted by either 3% or the increase of the Consumer Price Index for any given year, whichever is greater. All rates and charges for services shall be approved by the REMSA board as well as you, the City Council. The CPI for year ending May of 2018 was 2.8%. Therefore, the Paramedics Plus rate increase for your consideration for approval is that 3%. You've received the REMSA annual performance report, and at City Council informational this afternoon, you received the annual performance report from Paramedics Plus themselves. Ambulance service oversight and quality assurance validates Paramedics Plus has met all contractual requirements. The REMSA board has approved their request for the 3% rate increase, which is before you this evening for first reading. Mike Bureau with Paramedics Plus, as their Chief Operating Officer, is here this evening and able to respond as needed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Questions for Jill, councilors? No questions. If not, I'd ask for a motion to set a date and hearing for second reading for July 17 at 7 p.m.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Kylie, seconded by Brecky. Any further discussion? Councilor Staley.
Just for the public's knowledge, we had a presentation today at the informational, and Councilor Nitzert and I both agreed on this. We gave accolades to the company because their employees have gotten wage increase over the last 3 years, since 2015, and they also have taken their retention rate from 81% to up to 91%. And having people stay on board, those ambulance workers is so important because they get that experience. They're sticking IVs in you and, I mean, handling things just like you would with a nurse, basically. So we want people who are well-trained, and we want people who are well-compensated as well. At least I do. So I'm appreciative of that. I also asked Mike Bureau, and maybe next week or when we have our second reading, you'll have that for us to show the public. But I wanted a breakdown of they had about 16,000 calls and 12,000 were completed, roundabout. So I wanted to know how many of those were Medicaid, Medicare, non-payment, because they do have people who don't pay them at all, and then they're sent to a collection agency. How many are private pay and how many are covered by insurance? So that's something that we need to be cognizant of as council members, that our citizens are paying for this, and we want to make sure that it's affordable and understanding where they're coming from as far as the compensation they're getting. So I'll look forward to that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, I'd ask for a vote, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Item 8, please.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, declaring certain property of the City of Sioux Falls surplus and approving gratuitous transfer of real property, State Veteran Cemetery.
Councilor
Mr. Mayor,
Kiley.
yes. I'm going to propose that we withdraw this item just temporarily. We've already deferred it 1 week due to conditions really beyond our control. It's been difficult to get key parties together to finalize the gifting agreement. So rather than defer it another week, we'd like to be able to at least have an initial meeting take place so that we have, I guess, a more stable timetable to do so. So I would move that we withdraw this at this point in time.
Second, Nitzert.
Okay, a motion to withdraw this item from Councilor Kiley, seconded by Nitzert. Any other discussion on this?
Just,
Councilor
Mayor,
Brecky.
just one question. Would it just be better to just move it forward like a month ahead or something? Just
Well, actually, we would prefer to withdraw it because we would still like to be able to bring it forward as soon as we possibly could. So, I mean, there's an outside chance that we could even put it on for next Tuesday, but rather than defer it yet a third time, we thought this would probably be the most prudent way to go.
thank you.
That's a good question, though. Thank you.
Other questions on that motion? If not, I need a vote on this motion to withdraw.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. On to item number 9.
A resolution declaring it necessary to levy and levying a frontage assessment against the lots, tracts, and parcels of land fronting and abutting upon 21st Street from Phillips Avenue to 7th Avenue in the City of Sioux Falls for the purpose of maintaining, planting, and otherwise improving and caring for the center parkways and boulevard thereon.
Kelby, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Kelby Maris with Parks and Recreation. This assessment has been in place since 1915 when the affected property owners initiated the assessment to allow for the development and care of these medians. Since then, they have on several occasions supported increased assessments on their property for the care and maintenance and other improvements. There are 53 properties that will be assessed 85 cents per front foot. The average assessment to these property owners is about $62, and the assessment rate has not changed since 1998. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Kelby. Councilor Staley.
Is there like a water spigot within those boulevard areas?
There is an irrigation system in there, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions for Kelby? This is an item we would take public input on as well, if anyone would like to speak on this. Okay, I'd ask for a motion.
Move approval. Erickson.
Second, Selberg.
Motion to approve by Erickson, seconded by Selberg. Any further discussion? If not, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item number 10.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a permanent telecommunications easement between the city of Sioux Falls and SDN Communications.
Welcome, Chad.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division of Public Works. This proposed easement is on land owned by the city of Sioux Falls where the mixed-use parking ramp is being constructed. SDN Communications had a fiber optic line in the First Avenue utility easement, which was recently released. Because the easement has been vacated and the ramp is being constructed in the easement location, SDN is required to relocate their facilities to a new location. We have worked with SDN on this, and we on a relocation for their facilities, and we are recommending this 10-foot easement on the east side of the ramp property, as shown above. It's outside the parking ramp footprint, and when it's all said and done, this 10-foot easement will be used for street-level parking. And the next drawing I show is the mixed-use building. And I know it's a little tough to see, but that blue line on the east side is where that small fiber line would be. And again, it'd be used for, it would be in a parking strip where cars would park over the top of that line. And engineering recommends approval.
Thanks, Chad. Question for Chad, Counselor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chad, is this within the downtown ring, or what we consider the downtown ring of fiber cable part of, that's there? So I guess it's not moving it.
No, yeah, it was, previously it was kind of right next to our 60-inch storm sewer line, or storm drainage line, that we are now relocating.
Okay.
And so we've worked with them, and as we've worked with a lot of the properties down here on where now do we put all of these different utilities, both private and public. And this, we think, is a good location for that line, and I think the city's interests are well protected with the language that's in that easement.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions for Chad? Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this item? If not, I'd ask for a motion from the council to approve.
Move to approve, Nitzert.
Second, Sale.
Motion approved by Nitzert, seconded by Sale. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes. That is passed 8-0. Item 11.
A resolution adopting the official flag of the city of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. I think, Councilor Starr, you were going to start the discussion on this, correct?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just put a couple of slides together to kind of give everyone a background of what we're trying to do with the official flag. As background, Mr. Mars visited Sioux Falls to participate in an event focused on creativity and community in April of 2014. And as, again, background, Sioux Falls is one of 3 major cities without an official flag, and this was spurred by the creative community to develop a flag for Sioux Falls. The committee to establish a suitable flying banner for the city of Sioux Falls was formed to solicit flag designs from the community. There were 90 flag designs received from 5 individuals ages 5 to 65. There were 3,000 individuals who spent 30 to 60 minutes to consider each flag design. The top 6 flag designs were presented at a gallery showing with a clear-cut winner in August of 2014. The Flag of Sioux Falls by Max Rabkin. And basically what this resolution does is it adopts an official flag of the city of Sioux Falls. No financial obligations are associated with this resolution, and it reflects a strong grassroots effort to identify, unite, and inspire the citizens of Sioux Falls. One of the comments that I heard today was from a gentleman who kind of tongue-in-cheek said that that they wanted to encourage the city council to do more of these projects, so there were other things we couldn't stick our noses into, but I assured them that we had plenty of time to stick our noses into other activities in the city as well. So I'm proud of the way this effort has come forward. It's worked its way through a lot of different channels. We had an informational last month. But this is the way government should be done, from the grassroots efforts of people in our community who've worked very hard to bring this forward. And I'm proud to sponsor this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Other comments by the council?
I'll do it after. I'll wait.
Councilor Erickson, did you say you
I'll
were-
wait
Okay.
until after the public.
Okay. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this issue?
Sierra Russo, Sioux Falls. So since we have issues in the LGBT community here, where is a flag for equality here? This, I'm against. What really does that qualify for equality here? Y'all well know that we're 20 years back behind time on diversity in the LGBT community here. And this is not on equality. This is not for people of race, color, creed, or anything except this design. That's all I got to say about it, but I'm against this. I think y'all could come up with something better than this to represent the community. But if we don't have a flag that represents everybody and for equality, then we're going to still have issues. We already have a lot of issues with accepting people of diversity and color. We need something that's going to represent everybody here. And this does not represent everybody, this flag. So I think they should come up, y'all, whoever did this flag should come up with a better idea to reunite everybody as a whole instead of just certain particular things in this flag here. And I'm gonna say it again. We have a race and LGBT issue here, and it's not going to get better until we start representing as a whole. And this flag, I need to see LGBT, I need to see race, I need to see equality in this flag.
Thank you. Greetings.
Well, hello. I'm David Sokaitis, and I'm just curious what the symbolism is behind this flag. Hopefully, one of you could talk about that for a little while. It might help the audience understand where you're coming from.
I actually just saw it on the news, so I'll just speak to that. If you can put the flag up for a second, whoever's in charge.
It's up there.
There it is, okay. The blue and white represents the falls. The blue with the sun is symbolic of the state of South Dakota flag, if you've ever seen the state seal. And the red is homage to the quartz site and the bedrock by which Sioux Falls was built around. So it's a homage to the state, to Sioux Falls, the rock, and the falls. So that's what they tell me. Would anyone else like to speak on this? Hey, John.
Hi, I'm John Snyder. Thank you guys and ladies for your time over the last month plus. This for me has been something really fun to see crop up around the city. It's definitely, in my opinion, a unifying symbol. One of the more recent places I saw it flown personally was at Sioux Falls Pride. It was flown alongside of a number of other flags. This has been something for me that's been just really, really heartening to see people come together and to support something. It's been a long time coming to have one banner that we can fly as a city. We are one of 3 major cities in the country that doesn't have a flag. Coincidentally, I had a conversation today about 2 hours ago with a client of our business who offices out of Fargo. And I had the opportunity to, he said, well, what have you been up to lately? And I had the opportunity to say, well, actually, we share something in common, and hopefully not for too much longer. And I told him the story, and at the end of it, he said, you know what? I'm going to go talk to somebody around here, and we're going to see what we can do about it. So I think where we are a little bit behind the curve of getting a city flag adopted, we can be an example to the others that haven't done it yet. So that was a really fun conversation to have today. Thank you for the time and the consideration on this. It's very much appreciated.
So this will make us better than Fargo if we do this. Is that what you're saying?
Your words, not mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anyone else like to speak to this? Janelle.
Janelle Kane. I look at it and I think, okay, it's plain, but what is it? I've lived here 27 years. I've seen this flag around like 4 times. Clueless as to what it meant. Do we not put our city name on there for people that are tourists so they know what they're looking at and what this flag is for? I had no idea. So I think that it's rather simple, and that's good, but I wouldn't know what it's for, especially if I wasn't told here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Tim.
Tim Stanger. Well, I tell you, everybody asked me about a flag today, and I told them, I said, I've heard about it, never seen it, till right now. And they asked me, did we vote on it? How can we adopt a flag when we haven't even seen it, we haven't even voted on it? Why wouldn't you take the top 5 contenders and put it out in front of the city and have people vote on it to what flag they really want? Really and truthfully, this flag really means nothing to me because it's too plain, just like she said. It doesn't say who it represents, what it represents. And I guess at my house, I said it's going to be the red, white, and blue, and it's going to represent freedom. That's what's going to be in front of my house.
Thanks, Tim. Hey, Zach.
Hi. Zach DeBoer. I mentioned a couple weeks ago when we kind of did the informational about this that I work for the South Dakota Arts Council. I do artist residencies across the state, and a project that I do is how to design a flag for your city. I actually went through that process in Brandon. Brandon adopted their city flag as well as a pledge that some 4th graders wrote alongside it. I think for folks who are I'll speak maybe just to the art side of this. That's my background. So in flag design, there are 5 rules for a good flag. And I'll do this a little bit in the same way that I talk to middle schoolers and elementary schoolers about this. Number 1, for a good flag, keep it simple. It should be so simple that a child can draw it from memory. Check. Use meaningful symbolism. As the mayor described, yes, we have the red for the court side. We have the blue and white zigzag lines depicting the falls, and then we have the reference to the state flag with the sunburst there. I'll also add as a little bonus the upward motion of the falls. That is to show the upward progression of the city as a whole. A little bonus cherry on top there. The next one, use 2 to 4 basic colors, and basic colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, white, red, black. Did I say red twice? Check. The next one, no lettering or seals of any kind. A flag should, the reason for that is you typically see flags on a flagpole, right, flapping in the breeze. Now, if a flag has writing on it, your odds of being able to read that 20 feet in the air are limited. If we look at, when and how flags have been used in the past, they're used to identify a place from far away. So bold, big, distinct colors, big shapes. Now, if you're familiar with the South Dakota flag, it's right there behind you. It breaks that rule a lot. In fact, the North American Vexillological Association, these are the experts on flag design. These are the guys who research. They know everything there is about flags. There's a booklet you can read about good flag, bad flag. It's called Good Flag, Bad Flag. It's about 16 pages. It's just, it's a light read. I've got a copy if you want to borrow one. They actually call out South Dakota's as one of the worst in the United States. because of that. It actually says South Dakota on it twice. And the sort of thing they like to add, if you have to write the name of what you're trying to represent on your flag, then your symbolism has failed. You know, the American flag doesn't say USA across it. You know, when I look at the United States flag, imagine I came from Mars and I've never seen it before. I'm not going to know what those 50 stars mean. I'm not going to know what those red and white stripes mean. But once that symbolism is explained, then we can see it. Now, our flag is actually a lot more, it depicts something, you know, it is kind of an abstract nature scene. So for those of who are concerned it's maybe too simple, it's actually more simple than most flags. I mean, if you think of the flag of France or Canada or Germany, those are just colors and rectangles. So yes, the South Dakota flag actually says South Dakota on it twice. The last one is be distinctive or be related. And, you know, I'll do this as middle schoolers. Be distinctive or be related. Now, that doesn't mean that flags have cousins or brothers or anything like that. But good flags should call back to certain things. So if we look at the flag of Puerto Rico, if you're familiar with it, it's red, white, and blue. Triangle canton with a single star, but it's red, white, and blue. It does show that connection to America, that it is a territory of the United States, so there is a connection there. Now, ours features the yellow sun and the blue to call back to South Dakota. Those 5 rules are checked on, every single one of those is realized in this flag. In fact, the president of NAVA, the North American Vexillological, and I urge you to try to say vexillological, it's a fun one. The president of that organization was actually one of the jurors, guest jurors on the expert panel when this process went through, and actually said if adopted, this would be one of the best designed city flags in America. And I think that's pretty high praise coming from this guy. If you look up city flags, there's a Wikipedia page on it, breaks them down by state, has little images, fun to look at. A lot of those flags break those rules. There's writing, there's seals, but then there are some that are just beautiful. And the most notable one is probably Chicago's city flag. The next time you're in Chicago, or if you can think back, you'll see that flag everywhere. You'll see it on manhole covers, you'll see it flying on flagpoles, you'll see it outside their city buildings.
Thanks, Zach.
Oh, sorry, time.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Anyone else speak on this? Okay, Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I wanted to wait a little bit and obviously allow the public to weigh in on this. So I got involved in this a while ago with John and a few folks that we signed a letter in support of this with Zach, Joe Batchelor of downtown Sioux Falls, as well as Corey Myers and Kellen with the director of the Design Center. After talking with this group of people and several others that have reached out, at first 4 years ago this started. I was aware of the flag. I had some friends that did submit to it, and I'm appreciative of that because there were so many flags that were submitted, and I kind of thought, oh, I like that one, I like this one, what is this? There were some great designs. So through this process, I've also learned that there's I'm saying the wrong word and I apologize, but they're flag experts and they judge these, and there's certain things, as such Zach said, that you meet the guidelines. Again, things I wasn't aware of. This isn't necessarily in my wheelhouse, but upon doing some of that research, I really grew fond of this flag. It's not just in certain neighborhoods. It's on a west side street. I drive by 26th Street and it flies right next to the American flag. And it catches my eye because it's unique, it's different. It is unifying for our community. You don't have to fly it if you don't choose to. There's not a legal, or there's not a financial burden for the city to have to do this, but it's something that we can rally around and support. I also learned quite a bit in doing some research also about the legalities of it. Something called a common, I'm going to say it wrong again, the common rights, where the waiver to release the liability so there's no risk to the city. I want to give kudos to this group because upon me saying, oh, well, wait, I can't do this if this isn't there, they worked diligently, contacted the author of this flag, reached out, got what is this common Creative Commons site that's out there, and that's gold for the art community. That means a lot. It's not just, yeah, you can use it and it's fine and I sign an affidavit. This is far more than that this person put their name on to allow us to use. I'm excited about it. I hope that you all support it as well. And if you don't want to fly it, don't fly it. That's okay too. But there are a lot of people that this means a lot to, and so I'm hopeful that you will support this. Over the last few years, it's grown on me quite a bit, and doing more research and diving into it and learning all about the process. I'm very appreciative for this group that did all the hard work and the heavy lifting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Erickson. Councilor Selber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would just simply say that I appreciate the effort that was put in by these people. I mean, your tenacity and your persistence and your intentions, and I mean, it has been a long road. So I think your heart's always been in the right place, and you've stuck to it. So congratulations. I think I agree with the fact that this city is a great city, and it's certainly worthy of and due for a flag. So I think again, nice work. Congratulations. Good job.
Any other comments from the council? Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. Well, I do like the concept. It is something that means more to you once you hear a little bit more about what the artists put into it. Quite frankly, the first time I looked at it, I thought, well, geez, we've got the falls on the wrong side. And then I realized, well, I was on the wrong side of the river. You know, if you're standing on the west bank looking east, and it's sunrise, it makes very much sense. But I do like the upward progression of the city of Sioux Falls and the symbolism involved too. I do have some questions though, and I had presented them to Councilor Erickson here yesterday about the buy-in from some of our other key organizations within the city of Sioux Falls. Because we've been having a discussion about branding Sioux Falls, and this could be part of that effort. So in terms of, and at the chamber mixer tonight, I asked about that question, and I know that the Issues Management Committee or Council has not addressed this, so I don't know that there is a stand one way or the other by the chamber. Councilor Erickson, maybe you can relate a little bit more. And I've talked to Joe Batchelor, although I believe that was maybe Joe's. I don't know if he was talking for all the downtown merchants or not, and I don't think Joe's here this evening, otherwise he could speak for himself, but Joe was in favor of it. But if you could speak to some of the other organizations that I brought up.
Thank you, and I can, Zach or John, if you'd like to address it better than I can, because I know they've done a lot of the heavy lifting. Joe was a part of the letter of support. I know he can't necessarily speak for every single...
And he's here now.
Oh, there he is, sorry. If Joe wants to address for himself, he sure can. I will say he was a supporter on the letter. Obviously, you can't speak for every single merchant, but I'll let you address it a little bit in more detail. I know it does have your title on the letter as well.
My ears were burning.
And you're fast.
Yeah. No, yeah, I was signing that letter on my own behalf. I wasn't speaking for the downtown community. I, try to represent them on a number of issues, but this was just something with my position as president of Downtown Sioux Falls. I just wanted to lend my support to it personally, not on behalf of the organization. But I do think it is important for the city to rally around a suitable flying banner for the city that we can help build a greater sense of identity for Sioux Falls. And I think it was spoken to earlier about the effort to create a greater branding effort for the city. I think it begins here with this flag, and I think it helps instill a great sense of community for the people of Sioux Falls, and that is why I signed the letter.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. And the CVB side of things?
And I know there were a handful of the groups that they're all engaged and this was all discussed and pitched with them. I know some of them can't formally come out and sign off on it, so to speak, but many of them were in support in those conversations and involved in, I think, even the design process as it was done 4 years ago, as well as where we are today. If they choose to use it in branding going forward, I know that this group would be ecstatic to have them use this in any branding that they so choose to do, versus just slapping a city seal on a flag and calling it good. I know this was something that they were interested in rallying around as well. So if I can, I don't know if this is out of protocol, but I'd welcome one of the representatives from the group if they'd like to address it in more detail.
I'll admit, I was just looking through my email and I missed the question, but I bet I can answer it.
In regards to the other organizations that were vetted with the flag, whether it was the CVB or other groups throughout the community.
Yeah, and that was actually something I was trying to dig up through, emails from 2015 when we had done or 16 when we had done a push. I know we had sent out information on the flag to the CVB, to the chamber, to these various organizations, and I think since that time there's been new directors and new folks involved. And what I was trying to do is dig up at least the confirmation that Terry Schmidt from the CVB had seen it and was at least in favor of a city flag. But if she hears this, don't quote me on that. I'll let her readdress it. But yes, it's been vetted through, I guess, or at least sent out and informed. I don't know if we have any other kind of affirmatives from some of those groups.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Zach, if you could stay there, and if I could continue,
Absolutely.
Mayor. If you could just open your jacket so that people at home can see that on a shirt or on letterhead or something of that nature, writing the city of Sioux Falls, he's doing a very good job of being a model. Then it is appropriate, is my understanding. I had talked to Joe Schaefer at the chamber mixer just between meetings. And so a T-shirt of that nature with the city of Sioux Falls written underneath it is very appropriate.
Yes.
And letterhead and so forth.
Absolutely.
Because that was the same question that was brought up earlier about identifying it. But I understand on a flagpole, it's not necessarily appropriate to be included on a flag. So.
Yeah. That's absolutely right.
And
So I have had some questions, and I think they've been sufficiently answered. And I think the juried process in which this went through was very well done. And also, kudos to the artists involved, because to give up their rights to a piece of work, art that they have produced, that's a pretty generous thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zach.
I'll just, if I can add, the scarf that I have on, and there's a few other people, we are members of a local soccer chapter that we like to all get together and watch soccer along with our children and many others. And they've embraced the flag themselves, and on the backside is their logo for the chapter, and on the underside of it, they have the Sioux Falls flag. They've added their soccer logo in the sun, which was appropriate for them to do as well. So to be able to adjust it for that in a positive manner, and these flags these scarves are super popular within the soccer community. It's what we do. We like to, I think they said they have 7 or 8 different different scarves that they kind of mix between, and it's kind of a soccer thing that it's kind of fun to see that they embraced it and put the flag on the underside of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the nice things about flags, and I'll say again, if you take a trip to Chicago, pop in any kind of store, you'll see their flag is remixed a million different ways. It's on scarves and flags, and they'll change out the stars if you look at, they'll change out the stars for other Chicago things. They're remixable, and they're kind of things that can be, made to represent a lot of different things in your community.
Councilor Staley, you had a comment.
I understand that nothing is ever going to please everybody. I remember vaguely when this started emerging, of course I wasn't on the council at the time, and I have to credit Councilor Pat Starr for actually getting me used to it, because he has it on his, when you email him, it's always right there. So he's been your biggest promoter visually. But I will say to the audience out here that when this was presented within the last month and a half, when they came forward, I did ask about the vetting process and maybe throwing it back into the mix again, and got the history of how it had been voted on. And at that time, I just have to tell you my selling point for this was that, and I think it was Zach DeBoer, and by the way, I'm still waiting for this, but you had all of the different flags. I'd like to get a copy of that. But we saw all the different entries. And I'm looking at those, and I'm thinking to myself, this one is the winner. It sold me. Now, I don't know if you were here to see it or not, but visually looking at all of those little squares, I thought, this thing, it appealed to me. And not that, I'm not trying to say I should be the end-all of deciding a flag, but I admire that these people stayed the course. They've been promoting this thing unofficially, and you got to give them credit for that. I mean, how many people in our community really stick with something like that? So that's why I'm going to be supporting it tonight.
Councilor
Yeah,
Selberg.
just quickly, I was just going to add in, I know Councilor Kiley had a good point too, where I think we recently all sat down and kind of heard through about Forward Sioux Falls and kind of some of the plans there, but they talked about the challenges too, where we've got different entities trying to kind of come together and find a theme or a rallying point or a logo or whatever that might be. And who knows, this might be something that kind of helps spur that talk and get it moving forward in that direction, because we kind of are all over there right now. So this could be the first step. And once it's up there, maybe people will focus more on it and, like you say, get used to it and kind of start tying some ideas and that into it.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Thank you. Councilor Neitzer.
Yeah, as I was doing research about this, and I'm just a detail person, I was looking around other communities and I was trying to figure out, you know, do other communities do, and I don't know who could answer this, do they have some sort of indemnification? You know, if somebody was, it's probably unlikely, but if somebody was to make a copyright claim, somebody came out of the woodwork a couple of years from now and said, you know, part of this is, I mean, you know, I don't think I'm going to fall on my sword over it, because frankly, I think that it's been out for quite a while, so you know, I'm just curious, though. I don't know if anybody was able to find anything on point as to, are we doing it how other cities do it, so.
In the process of working through this, I spoke to the state of Colorado, the city of Denver, and the city of Chicago, and I spoke to some of their legal departments and various other people in their marketing and branding. The way that we've done this with the Creative Commons release is the way that they have done it. And if they chose to after adopting it, for instance, the city of Chicago has some language where if you misuse it outside of their brand standards, it's a fine. Now, I can't find an example of them enforcing that, but that's the way that they chose to do that. Indemnification, I wasn't able to find any examples of that. It didn't seem like an issue that has come up with any of those bigger municipalities.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it was more theoretical than anything, you know, like if somebody would sue the city and say, you've stolen my, you know, my copyrighted work, you know, if we adopt it and we get sued, and then there's nobody backstopping us, essentially.
I believe we would have adopted it, but it would have been the artist, in theory, who would be that person that they would be looking at. Since we're just adopting it, not actually claiming it, we're using an open sourced product, basically. So
the other thing is, how many people have actually met this Max Rabkin? Isn't he from Germany? Is that where he's from now? Or?
He lives in Germany right now, and he's also lived in South Africa recently.
Okay.
It sounds like an international man of mystery, but I assure you he's a little more boring than that.
Yeah. No, again, and I'm not going to fall on my sword about it, but I'm also looking at this waiver, and it's got a signature and a date, and it's not notarized or anything, so I'm not sure it's worth the paper it's written on.
Sure. There's limited notaries in Germany. We do have the full email chain with everything, and the original applications of him sending in the art, and his two versions. He actually was able to send in two. The other version that wasn't chosen was a very similar design minus the sun emblem.
So there's a relatively long paper trail that could show that he released the rights to this.
Yes, and if you work in graphic design communities, it's really hard to reverse engineer things without them getting kind of wonky, I guess, would be an unofficial term. So that lends credence to its originality.
Okay, and this isn't my wheelhouse. Like I said, I support it. I had trouble trying to find out whether or not it was even an issue for me, or, you know, as I was looking it up, because I was trying to find another city that had, you know, like let's say they had a contract or something when they adopted it, and most of theirs were very simple resolutions as well. You know, it's just kind of fluff and. So.
Absolutely, it seems to be the way that most larger municipalities have done it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Neitzer. Can I get a motion to approve item 11?
I would move to approve item number 11.
Second, Erickson.
Motion approved by Starr, seconded by Erickson. Is there any further discussion on this one? If not, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Get to the tattoo parlor and ink it up. Congratulations. That being the last item, is there any new business?
Move to adjourn.
Second, Starr.
Move to adjourn, Erickson, seconded by Starr. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. That motion is carried. Great meeting. Have a good night.